It is Friday, the end of the working weekend. Here is to hoping that the cents have finally made sense. A very good evening to you, and thank you for tuning into Brand Plus TV and entrusting us to be your business news channel. I am Ondiro Ganga, ready to bring you up to speed with all the top stories making headlines. And as you know, we're all about business. Let's take a look at some of those headlines. Streamlining the transport sector, will the engine on Mishuki rules finally rave? First National PET Forum and Exhibitions, that bottle is your responsibility. Ignite my SME. Play by these rules for success.
Institutions and the difficulty of accessing finance.
Thank you for staying with us. Now on to our top story. Every year, 3,000 people lose their lives on Kenyan roads, with the majority of the accidents being caused by human error. It is for this reason that the government has stepped up by bringing back to life road safety rules, popularly known as the Mishuki rules. Our reporter Karari John attended a joint press conference between the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Transport and brings us the following report.
The lawlessness associated with the PSV sector has attracted the attention of the ministries, Interior and Coordination, and that of Transport, and they are not taking things lightly.
As we prepare to settle down,
the two ministries have come up with a task force in collaboration with the Office of the IG and NTSA to have a long-term solution to the menace. And today, they convened a press conference attended by regional and county commanders from all over the country, sending a smoke signal to the PSV operators that they shall no longer be dancing to the same tune. The forum was held at Kenya School of Government as all stakeholders gear up for Monday, 12 November 2018, when the country-wide crackdown on vehicles found on the road without complying to the NTSA regulation is set to kick off.
Good afternoon.
Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Interior, Fred Matiang'i, in his usual stance, did not shy away from expressing his stand.
We must change. And we are going to change, because we cannot continue to live this way. No one has lied to us that it's going to be a walk in the park. What we are about to undertake is a tough journey, but we will walk that path. Or else we will lose, slowly but surely we will lose the country. I've been telling my colleagues that if we don't sort out this madness, soon enough, people are going to come and live in your house or demand to live in your house. And the only way you can keep them out is by paying them money so that they don't live in your house.
The insurance company and PSV passengers also found themselves on the receiving end from a tough-speaking CS.
The kind of idiocy and madness we have seen in the insurance sector cannot be allowed to prevail. You people, if I asked you here, do you know of any one of these accidents that have taken place recently where the victims have been compensated by an insurance company? There's the case we have of the Matatu that rolled on Ngong Road, where our children, some of them university students, lost their legs and so on. To this day, the dance is going on in court. We are not going to carry burdens for anyone. Some of these insurance companies, we go after them. Let us meet in court. If he's taking away their licenses, we take their licenses. Because you see, right now, if you went to some of these bus stops, their characters, they are brokers, giving insurance stickers. Some of them are fictitious.
The boda sector, which has continually been associated with crime cases, received a few choice of words from the CES.
Boda is a good thing, and its introduction was actually for good reasons. And because it is helping our young people, let us support boda. Yes, but on one condition. It must be orderly, it must be clean. But I would like to say to them that from 1st of February, they will operate under a totally new regime. We will relook at the licensing, we will relook at who is supposed to be allowed, the trading of the border riders, and what needs to be done. Otherwise, it's a wonderful thing. But as you know, my brothers and sisters, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Thank you very much, P.S. Kibicho.
The Cabinet Secretary, Transport James Macharia, reiterated that it's time to act and streamline the unruliness of the transport sector.
When you hear that every year, for a country as small as ours, we are losing 3,000 people. And when you hear that every year we have close to 10,000 getting injured, then you wonder why you should give long speeches. What is necessary is to focus on what brought us here, and that is a call for action. It is a call for action because, ladies and gentlemen, we are dealing here not with an ordinary situation, but you are dealing with a matter of criminals. Criminals, that's what we have to call them. Because somebody who loads passengers in the vehicle, 60-something passengers of the vehicle, and that person gets drunk, that person becomes reckless, as if he's carrying bags of charcoal. You really have to call that person what he is or she is, and that is a criminal.
The police will be at the center of the success of the PSV guidelines by enforcing them, and the Inspector General of Police, Joseph Boynet, gave the commitment of the National Police Service.
I want to assure this gathering that we are set and ready to step up our level of alertness and our level of enforcement. And related to that, I want to disclose that I have issued instructions to all regional and county commanders, especially the county commanders and the sub-county commanders, that I will hold you responsible. I will hold you responsible in your respective sub-counties and counties. If there's a laxity in any way in terms of supervision, you must supervise and ensure that the law is enforced as is required in your areas of operation.
The National Transport and Safety Authority Director General, Francis Major, on his part, to further give weight as to why things must change, painted a picture of the state of road safety in Kenya.
In our situation here in Kenya, on average we lose about 3,000 people every year. A number of reasons, due to a number of reasons that we shall go through in our presentation. But when you look at the statistics, so far, as it actually last week, we've lost about 2,626 people, seriously injured 3,922, slightly injured 4,457, bringing a total of people who are affected to close to 11,000.
Use of technology to capture evidence can be a major booster to the prosecution of traffic offender, and Deputy Director of Public Prosecution, Dorcas Agig Oduor, reiterated this.
We would love, CS, that in investigating traffic cases, our officers use technology, because the use of oral evidence and waiting for people to come to court has been very, very, very difficult. And I'll give you an example. If somebody is charged for not having a speed governor, yet that vehicle ought to have a speed governor, and the hearing is going to take place 3 years later, there was no report to show that there was no speed governor. And therefore it is very difficult to prove your case. We therefore wish that technology could be used. where somebody is not wearing uniform, where tires are worn out, where a vehicle is unroadworthy, it is very easy to prove your case using technology by using videos and using photographs. We therefore think that the use of technology is one of the things that would assist us in prosecution.
Come Monday, all eyes are fixed on the implementation of these guidelines. All hopes are that this will not be another wasted effort. Reporting for Bramplas TV, I am Karari John, Wambugu.
On Monday, 12th, the government has vowed to do a crackdown on the public service vehicles which have not complied with National Transport and Safety Authority guidelines. Bert, are you familiar with them? Our reporter breaks them down for us in an effort to ensure that the country keeps moving. Take a look.
1. We have been instructed.
From today's press conference by the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Transport, where the two CSs put their feet down, it is clear that it's a new dawn for the public transport sector in Kenya.
Any of the challenges we are going to face. No one has told us it's easy. We are going to face challenges. We are ready for those challenges. Wale wa kwenda kotini ni sawa, tutaenda tujieleze pia huko kwa koti. We will also go and explain our side of the story on this matter. But we must bring about order in our country in the way in which this is done.
We must go for them. They spoke the name of NTSA. They spoke the name of the police service. And so we have to go for them and lock them up as well.
But how well do you know the road safety mandatory requirements for PSVs by NTSA? For the motor vehicle requirement, all vehicles should have a functional speed governor. They should be all in good condition, which includes tires, lights, indicators, and functional seat belts. The vehicles should have a valid inspection certificate, valid insurance, and a valid road service license. If they fall short on any of the outlined, the driver, owner, and SACCO will be charged. For the driver requirements, all drivers should have a Class A endorsement on their license, valid PSV badge for the SACCO, 0.00 alcohol level, uniform which is blue in color, display photo, maximum period of 8 hours. So for long distance commuters of more than 8 hours, the PSV has to have 2 drivers. If they do not comply, the driver, owner, and SACCO will be charged. All conductors should have a valid PSV badge and in uniform maroon in color. In the case of excess passengers in the vehicle, the driver, conductor, and the excess passengers will be charged. On Monday, 12 November 2018, it will be a new dawn for the transport sector in Kenya as the government has reintroduced guidelines to enforce law and order into the transport system. Now, as passengers are not spared, with the government now saying that those who are found in excess, they will be charged. Now, it's better to be safe than sorry. Reporting for Bramplas TV, I am Karari John, Wambugu.
Now on to matters environment. The Ministry of Environment and Forestry has today held the first national PET forum and exhibitions in Nairobi, with them focusing on strengthening on the PET value chain in the country for a clean and healthy environment. Our reporter Dei Sombo attended the forum and brought the following report. Take a look.
Despite the positive properties associated with the PET packaging packs that are used for packaging commodities due to its inert, shatterproof and lightweight nature, thus being easy to transport, public concern has been raised regarding pollution associated with improper disposal of the PET bottles due to its non-biodegradable nature, especially when littered indiscriminately on land and in water bodies.
First, to welcome all of you.
Speaking while delivering the keynote address on behalf of the Cabinet Secretary of the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Honorable Kiriako Tobiko, the Chief Administrative Secretary of the Ministry, Honorable Mohamed Almi, stated that the forum came at a time when the country is preparing for the International Blue Economy Conference, where various topics will be discussed and waste management will be given special focus.
This event comes at an opportune time when the country is hosting the International Blue Economy Conference at the end of this month. Different aspects of oceans and blue economy will be discussed in the conference, but waste management will ring high on the agenda. The conference discussions are very valuable to Kenya as they explore opportunities that could be harnessed using the vast tonnage of plastics littering our environment, including our ocean space.
They are being floated.
The CAS pointed out that the ministry had come up with waste management strategies, a move that is in line with the Vision 2030.
To fulfill these constitutional and Vision 2030 demands, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry has developed several policies, key among them being the Sessional Paper number 10 of 2014 on environment policy, which addresses waste management at length.
He continued to note that the ministry shall continue to work with the county governments in operationalizing the policies in an effort to achieve a clean and healthy environment.
As part of our obligation to this dispute initiative, the ministry commits to continuing engaging counties who, as we heard earlier, this function has been devolved to develop policies and legislation to regulate pollution of plastics.
Towards these efforts, a partnership between the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, Ministry of Environment and Forestry, and the National Environment Management Authority was established and mandated to oversee that both the public and private sector support each other in the management of PET in the country by raising awareness around the possible models for ERP, take-back schemes and recycling.
Would it be possible to have glass shampoo bottles, for example?
Sachin Gudhka, the chairperson, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, spoke on the negative effects of PET on the environment and urged the stakeholders to take responsibility of its disposal.
The use of PET has had negative effects on the environment, the majority of which relate to post-consumer waste and littering. If we are to continue enjoying the great benefits of using PET, we must, as a society and as businesses, take responsibility for the disposal and recycling of this material to avoid the negative impact on the environment.
He went on to point out the role of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers in waste management and partnership with government in attaining a clean environment.
We manufacturers too must step up and complement the role of government and consumers. We too have a responsibility for this environment. We operate in and to our customers. Environment and sustainability are no longer luxuries that only large companies must consider. It's a requirement for each and every institution.
With the PET bottles being 100% recyclable and ranked as the most recycled plastics in the world, currently data shows that globally only 15% is being recycled.
Pleasure to join you today in this.
Deputy Director of Environmental Education at the National Environment Management Authority, Mamomboru, while expounding on the role of the organization, outlined the risks that littering poses.
As the authority charged with the responsibility of caring for the environment, we are concerned as we see increase in littering of PETs, bottles in the environment, and then indiscriminate dumping and littering, which has become socially acceptable in our Kenyan society, which is really quite unfortunate.
He continued to emphasize the need of bringing together stakeholders so that they understand the value chain and come up with ways of dealing with the PET waste.
As the Environment Agency, that this forum will help us understand the PET value chain in Kenya and look at ways of enhancing the capacity of the system with an ultimate goal of removing PETs from our environment.
The forum draws members from the PET resin importers, collectors, transporters, users, manufacturers and recyclers, It is also open for exhibitors who have alternative uses of PET. Reporting for Brand Plus TV Business News, I am Daisy Ombwa.
Well, on that environmental conscious note, we head for a short commercial break, but do stay with us as we still have so much more lined up for you on the other side, including some nuggets of wisdom for women in business. See you shortly. Welcome back and thank you for staying with Brand Plus TV. This is Business News. Let us now turn our focus to women in business. Facts, a supply chain finance institution, today held Ignite My SME Forum at Strathmore University. The event, under the theme Growth Through Excellence, brought together female entrepreneurs from all over the country. Take a look.
We are either startups, we are either one-man show.
A room full of women with more than just gender as the common ground, entrepreneurs. In unison, the women spoke in one accord, stating among the key challenges SMEs face is access to finance. Linda Onyango, CEO SME Support Center, noted that there are alternative sources of revenue for SMEs.
Equity is basically selling your shares in your company in exchange for money from an investor. It could be a local investor or an international investor, usually at an agreed share price. Debt, in my case, since I'm looking at alternative capital, it was private debt from private investors. It could be an individual, it could be family offices, it could be private equity funds or many other funds that are out there. Grants, basically a lot of donations and development finance institutions provide grants for those who are tackling impact kind of businesses.
A second area is product design.
However, she went on to note that for any investor to invest in an SME, they must assess the risk.
An investor has typically very many levels of risk. So usually there's a country level risk. There's the industry that you're in. So let's say if you're a poultry farmer, you're in the agricultural industry, it has its own inherent risks. And then there's your business as a poultry business. So that's at the macro level. At the business level, you're looking at the competition risk, which is how competitive your environment is, the market risk, whether you actually have a good customer base and a huge market. You're looking at the technology. If it's a product business, you're in manufacturing, you develop this cool product. Does it work? And can you produce the same replica that works all the time in the same way? There is a regulatory risk. They look at licenses. Do you have licenses? Do you have, if it's a patent, have you registered the patent, and etc. So those are some of the risks they look at. And most importantly, before I forget, the execution risk. So they're very keen on your team. Who's behind your team? Who are you? People most of the time put money on the person. Many times they don't put money as much as they put money on the business, they want to put money behind someone they can trust and see that this person will use the money to ensure that they actually scale and they get their return.
The future after.
Another key area that plays a critical role in the growth of SME is marketing. Millicent Obor, Program Manager Africa 118, highlighted that the digital space bears so much potential that SMEs can tap into. The challenge is for the SMEs to put in proper digital strategies.
So when it comes to digital strategy, ideally I'll condense it to just 6 steps. First, you need to understand what is your purpose, what is your goal as a business. Secondly, what is the geographical coverage or location for where you are based or where your customers are based. Thirdly, you want to make sure that you understand the devices that your customers are using. Are they on tablet? Are they on mobile? Are they on desktop, for example? You want to understand your customers, profiling your customers. Who are your customers? Both demographic and psychographic profiling of your customers. Because in so knowing that, you are able to package that particular content or product in a way that will suit the particular target group or audience or interest levels of your particular customers. And then lastly, you want to make sure that you have a time frame in mind, because with any particular business, you want to know that when do I start getting returns on my investment. investment? Is it short term? Is it long term? So having all these 6 steps brought together, integrated together, synergized together, you're able to come up with a very powerful online strategy to make sure that you get word out, and not only getting word out in terms of branding yourself, but then the people are aware of whatever it is that you're offering, and they're able to come to you and get that particular service or product.
On getting that coaching that I need.
While growing the business is always the main agenda, the customer is equally at the center of the business. To this end, Lois Mbo, CEO Brow Africa and founder of the Adira Network, emphasized that for SMEs to grow, it is essential for them to create value through customer experience.
In many spaces, they call it KYC, and a lot of business people sometimes don't spend time to actually understand who's your customer in terms of profile your customer, understand what their needs are. Is your product or service meeting a pressure point or a pleasure point? Is it a pain point or a pleasure point? So get to understand who's your customer, what are their economic, what is it called? What is their wallet spend, for example? What is their wallet spend? What are their hobbies? Where do they engage? So that helps you to know how to position your product or service for their needs or their wants. That will also help you to know how to communicate with them, because then you're able to know which spaces do you find them. And that helps you to know how to position your product for them. The second thing I said was understand the customer buying process, and there's a process around it that moves from having a need, identifying the need, willing to do something about the need, then looking for information, making comparisons, asking for testimonials. People do that. So you'll Google, you'll get the information, then you'll try in your spaces to find out who else knows about or has interacted with this company or this product or this service. So that buying process then as a business person will help you to understand, how am I communicating? If I have a website, for example, simple things like website, or how we all set up, social media pages for our businesses. When your consumers come there, will they find the appropriate information? Do your platforms allow for engagement, or are they one way? So they're just dishing out information, but consumers can't engage with you as a business owner. Because remember, there's a process here. So they're looking for information, but they're also looking for testimonials. They want to ask questions. So is that available for them?
We want them to interact with you.
Statistics state that only 1 out of every 5 global businesses is owned by a woman. Forums like this are seeking to change that narrative by growing women-owned businesses from SMEs to global businesses. This is a goal that sooner or later, when realized, the multiplier effect can't be denied.
You have your staff. Are you taking care of them? Do they understand the business?
The financial sector Deepening held its 4th Kenya annual lecture on financial inclusion in Nairobi, which highlighted new thinking and raised cutting-edge issues in the field of financial inclusion, as well as giving an insight on the future of fintech globally. Our reporter Daisy Wambua attended the lecture and has more details on the story.
And with that said, I think
Even with the importance of an inclusive financial system becoming a policy priority in many countries, including Kenya, over 3 billion people in developing countries still do not have access to financial services.
I want to describe fintech to those of you who don't understand it.
Julian Chula, an accomplished entrepreneur and business leader of both local and international acclaim, was quick to point out that most startups fail, but those that survive present a major problem in the fintech world.
These startups might fail. A lot of startups will fail. A lot of startups will not meet your criteria. But those are not the ones you should worry about. What you should worry about is the ones that survive. They're the ones that become the problem.
Despite the unstable regulatory environment on the continent, he continued to state that consumers need to be more aggressive in gaining knowledge in matters of finances to gain understanding and take up the available opportunities.
I don't think we have that full understanding yet on this continent. It's there, it's coming, but I think we need to get a lot more aggressive because it's clear there's a lot of attention coming to this continent. There's a lot of trials, there's a lot of experiments. But at the same time, I think the fact that we have a disjointed regulatory environment As much as Africa is a continent of 1 billion people.
He went on to point out that the future highly depends on small monies, thus the need for people to shift towards the adopting of small money.
We cracked the understanding of small money. And the understanding I had was small money is good. And the future has a lot to do with small money because small money is convenience. I go to the movies, I want small money. I go on iTunes, I'm not looking for $5,000, so I'm not competing with the existing bank infrastructure. But when I go to iTunes, $1 can get me 1 million different things.
He did not forget to mention that the banking sector is the only frontier that has not experienced any disruption, but was quick to note that they ought to be prepared for the blow.
Banks, disruption is coming. Actually, you are the only final frontier that has not yet been disrupted. And that's why every one of us who's in the innovation space is trying to figure out how to disrupt you and smile while doing it.
The Kenya FSD program was established to support the development of financial markets in Kenya as a means to stimulate wealth creation and reduce poverty. With millennials being the next generation of bankers and investors, Julian pointed out that they have a different line of thought when it comes to matters financial services, and they are in charge of initiating the disruption, but only if they step up their innovation.
When it comes to financial services, millennials think differently. When a particular bank comes to me and has prepared very nice coffee and premier stuff for me, or did I say premier stuff? Oops. Has prepared very nice things for me. That's fine for me who's no longer youth. But the habits are very different for these guys. And if you're not thinking about them, something is coming to disrupt how they're being banked. So 40% of these guys would consider banking with Google. The one disruption that you all need to worry about is not the one you see every day. It's not M-Pesa. They say Apple has over 690 million credit cards stored on its database. If Apple and Google move to get banking licenses, that's real disruption. And every innovator is going to start going into their space to see how they innovate on top of such a platform. Banking, insurance, millennials are going to shift how they consume a lot of these products. And if those products could be put out there for as little as possible, I don't think Microsoft ever thought that there would be a day that they're selling their products for $7. I don't think they ever thought that day would come. But they pivoted quickly. They didn't pivot on product, but they pivoted on their sales strategy.
In matters growth of the financial sector, he highlighted the need for proper governing systems that will help boost the growth of fintech.
You must have governance. You cannot go to certain levels without the right governance and structures. So I just told him, find the money, I'll spend the money. Find the money, I'll spend the money. And you know, this is not going to happen out there. The world is not fair. The world is not fair. So fold up your sleeves and be ready. You will find yourself.
The Kenyan market has seen a transformation thanks to the changing technology that has influenced not only access to financing, but also ways in which people interact with financial services. Mobile money has been the front runner in this space by not only making financial services more accessible, but also driving financial inclusion. Reporting for Brand Plus TV Business News, I am Daisy Wambua.
Let's now shift gears and take a look at how the markets performed today. Here is a summary. Well, that is just a summary of how the markets performed, but for more in-depth analysis of the same, tune in on Monday at 8 a.m. for my next big bet with Rachel Nderitu and Karanja Daniel. Let's now take a look at the day's weather report. Well, that was all the time we had tonight on the Business News Desk. On behalf of everyone that made it a success, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on Monday, same place, same time. But until then, think business, culture, and lifestyle. I am Ondiro Ganga, and I'm in business. Case closed.